Well, hello. Welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. Cathy Young is a Canadian singer, songwriter, guitarist, harmonica player, kazoo player, and producer. Cathy released 2 albums in the late 60s, early 70s period. A Spoonful of Cathy Young came out in 1969, and in 1973, Travel Stained was released. The next year, Miss Young won the Juno Award for Most Promising Female Vocalist. Cathy has performed all over the world and is much beloved, especially in her native Toronto. Perhaps you could say Cathy Young's musical legend is larger than life, since her image is included on a 70-foot mural of Canadian musicians who have played at historic Yonge Street venues. In 2016, Cathy's 3rd album appeared, the compilation Young, Live, and Rare. She's still playing live and recording to this date, and we'll find out what our guest is up to these days. Well, welcome, Cathy.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction, Greg. I can't help but smiling and grinning. That's lovely. Hello, Texas.
And hello back to you. Well, take us back to the beginning. So your Toronto roots.
Born in Toronto on the coldest day of the recorded day of the 20th century. Popped out 8 months. Couldn't wait anymore. Doctor said, that's the loudest baby I ever heard. This one's going to be a singer. True. I checked him years later. I said, did you really say that? He said, I've never heard a louder baby. You can wait to get out. Okay. Pausing. At 3 years old, I sang Jesus Loves Me on a streetcar, 501 streetcar on Queen Street. And the whole streetcar applauded. I'd never seen applause before. And I got a butterscotch candy from an old man. And I've been a sucker for applause and butterscotch ever since.
Sucker is the operative word, yes.
You know that.
Well, so you weren't very shy as a youngster, huh?
No, not overly shy. No, I love to sing. I joined a gospel church at, I guess, around 12. Because they could sing in that church and nobody fell asleep, you know. It's really great. So I love the Baptist church. I actually had an opportunity to be in Owensboro, Kentucky in the 80s. And there was a girl who was working with us. We had a fundraising Christmas show, which we toured for years. And she was working with me. And she brought me to church with her, which is amazing because I was the only white person in the church.
Okay.
That was big.
Yeah.
And Owensboro, Kentucky, I'll never forget it. And they were all doing the fans and stuff. And it was incredible to have that experience and to feel it. I felt it in Kingston, Jamaica in 1975 when my manager put on a show there. Called Super Soul 75. We were staying in the Prime Minister's brother's estate at the time. And I felt it because I walked in Kingston. It was in Kingston. And it was a Sunday and I heard them in church. Oh my gosh, they were raising the roof. And I just felt, I can't go in. I'm white.
Yeah.
So when I had the opportunity, fast forward to the 80s, and she brought me in church and I heard it. Go ahead, Rev, go ahead. He says, I woke up this morning, yeah, and I got something to say, yeah. And they saying, go ahead, Rev, go ahead. I'm like, yeah, go ahead, Rev, go ahead. And it was just amazing. I loved it. So that's, my voice has always been connected to the Creator.
Yeah. That
the
gospel.
gift.
Yeah, exactly.
And for the last 20 years, I've been singing with George Oliver's gospel group. Oh, he's a rockin'. He was in the band, of course, the Five Rogues, who became the Mandela, and they did very, very well. And he's our blue-eyed Prince of Soul. That's what he is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've seen him turn a table of Detroiters around in 5 minutes.
Well, going back to when you were younger, do you remember hearing music being played in the household? Can you remember that?
Yes, I have a picture of me with my Sea Breeze record player that you had to put a quarter on the thing because the needle was dull, and at least it played it after that. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and I would listen to. I didn't listen to too much of the red records of the kids' records.
Yeah.
I was listening to Patty Page, Cross Over the Bridge, and How
Uh-huh.
Much Is That Doggy in the Window, and
Yeah.
yeah. So, and then a little further on down, 10 years, something like that, I would come home every day and sing
Mhm.
to a portrait of my sister. I'd hallucinate until the hands would clap or didn't like it or have to do it again. And oh my gosh, she was my audience, you know. And I would sing to Ruby Murray, the voice of Ireland.
Oh, okay. Yes, I have heard of her. Yes.
So yeah, if you're
Well,
Irish, come into the parlor. There's a welcome there for you. And if your name is Timothy or Pat, so long as you come from Ireland, there's a welcome on the map.
were, did you come from a musical family? Were either one of your parents inclined? So,
Not the parents so much. My father was a good writer,
okay.
but never, did much with it. But my great grandmother was an opera singer.
Ah, okay. All right.
So let's see, way back. And my my great grandfather was a joiner. He made cabinets with and things like that. He built things without any nails. It's a
Oh,
specialized way of woodworking.
uh-huh.
And he was working in something called the Heintzman House here in Toronto. He came here in 1881. I got a great picture of him with the rest of the joiners in Scotland. It's fading now, but I got it.
Yeah.
And he was working in the house, and he heard these architects talking about building a circular staircase and looking at blueprints and stuff. And he said to Mr. Heintzman, I could build that, but then I need any of those blueprints. I could do that.
I could do
So
that.
he said, go ahead.
Yeah.
So my great grandfather, built a circular staircase in the Heintzman House, which is a historical house today.
Yeah.
And later he asked, what's important, why I'm saying this is because after that, he hired my great grandfather to build the cabinets for the Heintzman pianos.
Is that right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So
Oh,
to answer your question, we've been in the music business for a long time.
a long, long time.
My grandfather was a sergeant in the Queen's Own Rifles in World War One, and
Mhm.
he took mustard gas at Vimy Ridge. Yeah. So we're also been an army family. It's like, obey. I was the rebel, went to Yorkville.
Right. Well, talk about some musicians and bands and artists that you were into as a teenager.
Well, I was into all music. To me, it was just a wonderland, and there wasn't really anything I didn't like.
Uh-huh.
I experienced many types of music in Yorkville, from the blues to soul, Toronto soul, which came up around that time. And my favorite artists were Jeff Beck and the Yardbirds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really loved our local groups, the Stitch in Time. Stampeders I hadn't heard way back then in the 66, but they played the El Patio.
Okay.
So it would be a few years before we met. But there are a lot of groups. I love the Jefferson Airplane and Linda Ronstadt and the Eagles, and pretty well like
Oh, I
other
love, yeah,
teenage people.
the early Eagles. Yeah.
Pink
Well,
Floyd.
what was the music scene around you at that time around Toronto?
It was amazing. There were so many clubs. every club every night, and different bands every night. Was just amazing. And then there was the street scene, people sitting on the sidewalks, on the steps of the shops and getting kicked off, but going back like the pigeons are doing to me today with
Yeah.
my balcony. Yeah, I get it. They told me to bugger off, and I'm telling them to bugger off. So that's where I basically got my chops. I learned how to play some guitar. We shared.
Okay.
It wasn't like people kept the knowledge to themselves. We shared chords and things, and someone gave me a harp stand and a harmonica and taught me how to play it. And
Yeah.
that person was, well, we called him Sonny. He looked like Bob Dylan. He had the curly hair, the camel coat. He looked identical to him.
Okay.
And it's funny because then he left. He was a draft dodger, and then he left, apparently, and then he left Canada. But we used to play pool, and he had this voice, and I'd say, whenever you asked him how he is, he'd go, "How are you?" Terrible, terrible. That's all he ever said, you know. And we play pool and stuff and play some music. And then he left and became Leon Redbone.
Is that right? Okay.
So these were my peers. I sat and learned how to play some blues chords from a gentleman. My first jam was with John Lee Hooker.
Okay. Oh, that's a nice company.
Will you read my book? It's called. It's going to
Okay.
be called Travel Stained. Perfect.
Oh, you're a second.
Yeah. A lot of people. So I went to the Waldorf Astoria Hotel with one of my friends who was a great musician, Jay Telfer. May he rest in peace. He's gone, but there's the Jay Telfer auditorium that's been built in his name.
Uh-huh.
And he took me to play blues with this blues guy.
Uh-huh.
So I'm sitting there, we're playing. I only know how to play one song in blues, E, A, B, and that's it. I'm still a fledgling. So I'm sitting and we're playing the song. Really cool. And then the song ended, and I sat there, and he said, "Okay, well, let's play another one."
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I said, here you go, Jay, you play. I didn't realize at that point, I didn't know the blues. I didn't know that you could do 100 songs, just keep playing.
Right.
Later on, when I did my album, I met John, I'm looking at pages, Terry, Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee. They became my buddies because we were on the same label.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I got so many stories. I don't know if we're gonna have enough time. So you asked. Go ahead. I'm shutting up now.
Maybe. We'll talk about busking as a teenager. You doing that? Did you enjoy that?
I loved it. I didn't even know I was busking. I used to sell papers for 25 cents each, the Harbinger newspaper, to all the people coming by in the cars, and that's how I made any money. If they tried to put money in my case, I was really offended. I'm playing music here. Somehow I didn't equate the two, you know. But I started playing on the steps of the Grab Bag, which was a convenience store. We all sat there like little pigeons. Even the vagabonds motorbikes. There's the pictures of them watching me play, and you see their backs as vagabonds, and they got these cute little haircuts. They're so young. We were all innocent, and that's how I started at busking, until an agent came up to me once and he said, "Would you like to work in there?" It was in front of the Minor Bird Club.
The Minor Bird, yes. Talk about that. Yeah.
And I said, "Well, yeah." So I got a job there, and I was the house. Well, I got a job there, and I went back later, and I was the house musician and the house magician. It was like a circus, that place. It was Colin Kerr, and he had this minor bird that he used to bring on Johnny Carson and say that it could predict the future and everything. He was a real huckster. Amazing. And Colin was amazing. Anyway, he had this club. I'm there, and I'm the house musician. The house magician was, drum roll, Doug Henning.
Doug Henning, yes, I remember
May
him.
he rest in peace. And the house limbo dancer and glass eater was King Ricardo.
Okay.
So we were the crazies there. My sister ended up dancing in the window as a go-go dancer, and all the boys looking up, Steve was amazing too. He's a beautiful dancer. And so we were kind of like the crew there. And I was there 10 days only in the interim, in the beginning. And I got an invitation to Mariposa, which was, at that point, was out of town in Orangeville. And I'd never been. I said, sure. So, I quit my job, and went to Mariposa and saw who I had seen. Oh, I should backtrack just a bit to the Love-In in 1967.
Yes.
Yeah, I need to do that because that was the first performance for me off the street. It was my first performance in front of people. And I'm getting ready to go on, and I'm pretty nervous, but I can do it. And I'm sitting beside the two diggers who started the thing, Blues Chapman and Don Riggin. I'm on stage waiting to go on. Leonard Cohen had already played. And suddenly they introduced me. Ladies and gentlemen, we're so proud to introduce surprise recording artist. I don't have a record. Warner Brothers recording artist, Buffy St. Marie. Oh no, I have to move my hands at this point. Oh my gosh. What am I gonna do? So I'm sitting, I'm watching her. First of all, I didn't get it that I'm going on next. So that's Buffy. So I sat, a few of us sat at her feet, I touched her pant leg. and then I went back, I went, oh, I have to sing after this. What am I gonna do? It's only one song I know, and it's hers.
Oh my God.
Oh, dear. So I went back to blues. I said, Blues, what am I gonna do? I gotta sing next, and the only song I know is Codine, which is hers. That's the only one I want to do. And he said, here's the watershed moment. He said, well, you can always chicken out. You don't say that to a Scot. You don't say that.
You don't say
Freedom, whatever it was. So I just went, okay. And people remember this. Many people remembered this. She got off stage, and now introducing Cathy Young. Yes, I'm 16. So I got up and I played. I said, this is a Buffy St. Marie song. In my belly's a craving, got a shaking in my head. Feel like I'm dying, and I wish I was dead. Anyway, I didn't have that vibrato yet. Anyway, I did the song. And people thought that was okay. I delivered it well enough.
Okay.
And so fast forward. Now I'm in Mariposa, May, June, a couple months later. And I see, oh, look at all these people. And I walk backstage because that's where now I feel comfortable. And who's there? Leonard Cohen. So I said, hi. He says, hi. I said, you remember me? Yeah, I remember you. You did a Buffy song. I said, yeah. He said, I don't want to play. I said, why? He said, they're making so much noise. They're not even listening. So you want to do my set?
Oh.
You want to play? I don't want to play. You can have my time.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, I swear to God, this is true. So there's the hands again. And I said, okay. So he took me back into the tent, opened the tent, and who's inside? Buffy St. Marie, alone, tuning her guitar, whatever. So he said, Buffy, you're too noisy. I'm not playing. I don't want to go out there. This is Kathy. She's going to take my set. And Buffy turned around and looked at me. If looks could kill,
Oh,
I'd be
yeah.
on the floor. And I just, she says, and then she took her eye from me and she said, but Leonard, they've all come to see you. You have to play. And I'm nodding my head as I'm backing out of the tent, right? And I heard him say, okay, but if they make noise, I'm leaving. I made scarce of myself. And he played, he got 2 songs in, and he started to play Suzanne. And halfway through, they kept talking, and he left the stage.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So later, we all went back to this motel, and we're all sitting having a really good time, smoking reefer. I smoked a joint with with Richie Havens on the balcony. May he
Oh,
rest in peace. They're laughing. Then I went in and started jamming with Joni. Joni Mitchell was there, and
wow.
I'm just courting, a few months better, and she's doing leads. Lead guitar. I said, yeah, okay. And that's how that went. And then I went back and I worked at the Minor Bird for 6 months after that. And then I ended up playing the rock pile. Mr. Brower, I tugged his sleeve. Can I play a song, Mr. Brower? Sure. So I did, and that's how I built my fan base, basically, because I was the warm-up act. Every week I'd be there. The warm-up act for the warm-up act, which is called Transfusion, with the famous Danny McBride, who played guitar on Lady in Red. These guys all did well, okay? And he's an amazing artist too, Danny McBride. So he was in that band, and they were the warm-up act, and then the big act. So I performed with the Mothers of Invention. I smoked a joint with Frank Zappa in the green room. Ha ha. I shouldn't
Put
give
that in
away
your
my
book.
whole book. I
That's
shouldn't
what
give
I was
away my
gonna
whole
say.
book.
It's coming out today.
There's a few things I'm giving you, but there are many more that will never make the book. Nothing bad.
Make stuff like that up now.
No, you can't. You can't. So these things happen. What can I tell you?
Yeah. Well, what were the events that led to you being signed by the manager of the Amboy Dukes? What
He
happened?
was, oh, you're going to laugh at this one. That was Shel Saffron. And I got off my work at the Minor Bird, and my friend Rosemary, was that who I just met, was working there too as a waitress. And we were walking together, and this car pulled up full of guys. It looked local. First of all, local guys couldn't afford a car. So they had a car, and they pulled out, and they got out, and they said, hey, girls, how you doing? I mean, it was late. There was nobody on the street. How you doing? We're doing good. How are you? Okay, yeah. Well, look, we just got in from Montreal, and we're run out of gas. We got no dough. So we lent him some money so he could get back to Windsor. And he gave me his phone number.
Oh.
That's how it started. So I phoned him later on, and I went down there to just meet him, because it was music. Yeah. And I stayed a week. Actually, I was trying to get out of Yorkville for a week, and I did. And then they came back, and I played the rock pile. And he had just finished doing a demo for Big Brother and the Holding Company for Mainstream Records.
Okay.
And he had told me he was the producer of Journey to the Center of Your Mind with the Amboy Dukes. And he had a running competition with a guy named Shep Gordon, who had a band with a leader named Vince, who is Alice Cooper, right?
Right.
So they had this going on. So he saw Nucleus. I had a boyfriend in the band. Nucleus was playing. I was a warm-up act. And he saw them and went, okay, and got in touch with Bob Shad. Brought Bob Shad up. Wait a minute. He brought Richie York first. Somehow Richie York was interviewing or reviewing Nucleus at the Rock Pile, heard me. That's how we met. Miss Young, 17, in 3 songs, is proven, worthy of something. And then he brought Bob Shad up on that review of Nucleus and me.
Okay.
And so we subsequently signed with Mainstream Records. Now, mine was a Billboard Pick of the Week.
Yeah. Yes.
Nucleus did,
Yeah.
but Nucleus is unfortunately didn't take off so fast. And the band was having inner problems. And so they didn't want, the manager didn't want to continue with Mainstream. And they basically forced me to cancel my contract after 6 months to join them and as a group. And we would have a label called Family Records and live on a farm. And that's what we did. But I was smart enough to say, can't I just guest on the record? Why do I have to give up my deal?
Right.
But I was underage when I signed it. My mother signed the contract, so we got out of it really easy. And Bob Shad said, "Don't worry, Kathy. Someday you'll be a star. May he rest in peace." And so I lasted about, I don't know how long with the band, 6 months. I didn't realize they were only just filling out their contracts.
Okay.
And so I left basically with nothing.
Right.
And no record deal for 4 years.
Yeah.
I went on, and then Shelley later said, "Okay, here we go. We're going to do Jesus Christ Superstar,
Right.
and you're Mary, and put a cast together and a crew." Okay. So that's what we did. I put a cast together. It was fabulous. We were in authentic costuming, not the modern one. There was a modern one in Las Vegas, put together by John Brower, and they got busted right away. Well, Robert Stigwood, we did 80 shows. They were watching us all the time. They waited until we got to Newfoundland and we were doing 2 dates there. First one went and got the Arts and Culture Center into the black for the first time ever.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was good. And then the next day came the injunction papers. Oh
boy. Okay.
And we had done radio interviews, and they were like old Newfoundlanders. Like they like, "Get those people out the country. Hey, come in the devil to come in his own image. Let me talk to that Mary Magdalene." So I get on the phone and say, "Hello." She goes, "I got one question for you, Mary." I said, "What?" "How many shots have you had today?" "1 shot of love, lady, and you could use one." Boom. Oh my gosh, it was fun. So they were like, "Get him out the country." They would have tarred and feathered us if we'd have been in an injunction, right?
Right.
So
what doing these is the themes and the threads. Just yesterday, I talked to a UK musician, Sandy Davis.
There you go.
Yeah. And
hey, and I got Dennis. I'm not too bad.
There you go. You were close. Anyway, and he sang Peter on the recording of Jesus Christ on the actual album.
Wow.
And then I told him, I said, "Well, tomorrow," this was yesterday, "I'm talking to Cathy Young, Canadian, who was part of the musical." So it's like, isn't that strange? And it wasn't planned like that,
And
so
who planned that Ronnie would call when we were talking?
Right, at the same time,
We got some serendipity going on, dude.
There you go, serendipity for sure.
So to end that, where was I? I will forget. So there's just too many stories. Where was I? Jesus Christ Superstar. Okay, so the injunction, I got it. So they let us go on. They didn't want us to be tarred and feathered. My manager's off the thing. He lost all his money. And they hired us. I worked for Robert Stigwood for a month after that. They let the tour go on and they paid us. Okay. And at the end of the tour, I was offered official roadshow tour.
Okay.
And my loyalty went out, and I said, "No, I can't do it." Sure. And that's before we did my album that features 35 top Canadian musicians. There's no other artist in Canada who's ever featured so many people on a record. And I did it, and I did it for my Young Live and Rare one as well. Very proud to have them in my sandbox because I was the only girl in their sandbox.
There you go. There you go. Well, I did want to talk a little bit about your first album, Spoonful of Cathy Young. Did you come up with the title, or where did that come from? Do you remember?
New York. I went down and recorded. They gave me $500. I bought a pair of jeans and a miniature limousine for Bob Shad. Said one day I'll make this real. That was a nice moment. He had hooked up for me the best jazz guys. He said, "What do you want to do? You want to go folk or rock?" Oh, well, I wasn't ready for rock then. Yeah. And I said, and I knew that he just signed Janis Joplin or had, and I thought, I think I'll do folk. So they put together Janice Ian's backup band for me, recording band, and they were amazing jazz players. Ronnie Zito on drums. The musical director was Don Payne on bass. These are all Buddy Saltzman. These guys are all famous in the jazz world. The musical director was the guy who did banjo on Deliverance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had some really good people. Eric Weisberg was his name.
That's his name. Yep.
That's his name. And I had second time in the studio, I didn't know enough to tell him to turn down my headphones so I didn't have to scream to hear myself. But they actually thought it was emotion and they loved it. But that's another story. I couldn't listen to that album for years. There was one we did live. I said, I've got that itchy nose. It means I'm going to kiss a fool. Hold on, I got a mirror here. I'll kiss that. There
we go.
Okay, there, I kissed the fool.
Oh, there you did. Yes, you did.
Yeah. So, okay, ask me another question. I'll shut up now.
No. It seems like the album is two different. What am I saying? Two different albums. One side is a certain sound, and then the second side is a totally different sound. Did they do that on purpose? Because the second side I prefer myself. There's more mellower songs on side 2.
Very interesting observation.
The first side is more kind of rocking and stuff, and more.
That's Spoonful, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, a Spoonful. Misfit Matilda. The other ones have much more introspective stuff and yeah, you're right. I guess they did that because I didn't have control over anything. They shot the picture. They put the picture of the back of the album cover has me left-handed. It's backwards.
Oh, it's backwards.
But it looked better for the print, right?
Yeah.
So they chose, actually it was his secretary who chose A Spoonful of Cathy Young. This is only a spoonful of Cathy Young, and more to come, kind of a play on words.
Well, yeah, the Color That Lightning, I like the vocal effects on that. Do you remember doing that? Do you remember recording?
Oh, yeah, but I wasn't there in the mix. They did everything. So when that came out, I went, oh, okay, that's redeeming. Right. The phasing that they put on it.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Because that's kind of was a druggy song,
Yeah.
Color That Lightning you're throwing around. It's all colored. There go the hands again. Stop it. Just sit on my hands. Right. I'm sitting on them right now.
That 3 Billion Lovers, Following in Front, and Melody Plot, they're all nice tracks.
Thank you very much.
I enjoy that.
They're close to my heart. They're close to my heart. Melody Plot, Following in Front. I was with Nucleus, the band, my boyfriend, and the rest of them after one of their performances and went to a burger joint, which is usually what they do, right? And I was in front of them, and somebody said, "Are you following?" Bobby said, "Are you following me?" The keyboard player. I said, "Yeah, I'm following in front,"
Right.
and I liked that.
Uh-huh.
3 billion lovers is because there weren't quite 3 billion people in the world at that time.
Yeah.
So that's what that was all about. And they were fighting over me for record contracts. Richie had Polydor Records. Gene Martinick from the wonderful, there's a band I should have mentioned, Kensington Market.
Yes.
Oh,
Another great
man,
one.
I used to sit and watch them and watch Keith Mackay, who's a very good friend of mine, by the way, and so were they all were.
Wow.
And I used to watch him play, and I put it on a cigarette pack, DDU DDU DU DDU DDU DU, because that's how he strummed. I was learning, from his show, down down up down down up down up down down up down down up down up. Yeah, I got it.
You got it.
I went to school. I went to school there, and the Poppers. There's another group. Denny Gerard, my good friend, Playboy magazine's bass player of the year one year.
Right.
Unfortunately, not everybody survived the drugs. Truthfully, and Alex Giroux, same thing. He used to say to me, because there was a summer where I wanted to lose it. I didn't run away from home. My home ran away from me.
Okay.
It broke up, and there was nothing. And I didn't know what, I had no guidance. Yorkville became my home. Actually, I wrote it, my teacher, my preacher, my sanctuary, my heart, my soul, the beginnings of my rock and roll, the birthplace of my rock and roll.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So Yorkville became my savior. There I was at 16, and I didn't know anything, but I would watch them play. Keith Mackay, the Poppers. Anna Mitchell's a friend to this day. Very, very fortunate to have done that, to have seen them. I'll send you a photo of me in front of the Red Gas where they used to play. And I'm wearing my little school uniform. It was higher than 6 inches above my knee. So they used to send me home every day. I wore it, and I would just stay there. I wouldn't change. So I was away 30 days, and it was only January. And so they tried to expel me. I said, they gave me an IQ test.
Mm-hmm.
And I came up one of the smartest they've ever had. But that's not hard to say when you're in a technical school and you just followed your best friend. What are you taking? Housekeeping. Okay. Homemaking. They wouldn't let me take auto mechanics. I wanted to take auto mechanics, but girls don't do auto mechanics back then, right? We were really limited.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, speaking of many years later, going back to your first album, it was inducted into the Friars Music Museum in Toronto. That must have been a proud moment for you.
You know everything.
I do a little research, yeah.
You're amazing. Well, yes, I was inducted into Friars Music Museum, and where they placed me blew me away because it's right in the middle. There's 2 rows of albums. Oh, there I go again. Sit on them. Okay. And I'm in between, right in the middle, in between David Clayton Thomas to my right and Jackie Shane to my left.
Yes.
I met Jackie Shane once at the Penny Farthing. We used to watch jazz there with the Soul Searchers, William Smith. When I die, I hope to be a better man than you thought I could be.
Oh, that's good.
Rest and so, Smitty was amazing. When I went down to LA first time, I went down there. I ended up in the Eagles manager's office. That's for the books. Anyway, I ran away from everybody. I thought they're gonna buy me for color TV. I'm out of here. I don't know nothing. So but I got there and I called a few people that I knew, and Smitty was one of them. And I said, I'm here in LA. I followed Shelley there. And he was still my manager, but he had been into concert promotion and literally got moved out of the country. There's
Yeah.
only one promoter back then.
Yeah.
Never mind. So that kind of was the end of my career, really, because I didn't know what had happened, but we leased my album to GRT Records, and they were waiting for another piece of product, and they never got it because Shelley had the issues with the concert promotions and stuff like that. Somebody ran off with the box office receipts, and
Really?
yeah, somebody who had it in for him for years and told me. I tried to warn him. Nope, he didn't listen, and he learned. When you see your managers in the front, I got to do this. Top of the Toronto Daily Star in red headlines. Rock promoters checks bouncing all over town. That's my manager.
Yeah.
So, he left. He had to leave. And I followed him to LA, and here I am. And I called Smitty. I said, here I am. I'm a little nervous. You got any pot? And he said, well, yeah, I don't smoke much anymore. He said, leave it with me. He called me back. He says, I'm on my way. And he brought me 3 joints. That was a Yorkville friend.
Okay. Was it a bit of a culture shock going to LA, being in LA?
Yeah, it really was. It was a big shock. I just felt like it was so big. I wanted to hold it in my hand forever. When I was driving down the highway, I wanted to, you could feel the air, so palpable, the energy, different than New York, but different. But I also saw a lot of degrading things when I was there. And I went and I recorded 12 songs for Irving Azoff. They went to Australia for a month because my manager, unfortunately, was at a loss. He didn't know what to do. And I had arranged a showcase with BMI, the writers affiliation. I went there as a writer, and he said, oh, great, we'll hook you up at a club and play songs, right? Showcase. Okay. So that night, Shelley didn't even come with me. That broke my heart. He just said, you take the bus, the 407 bus, low power mode. Oh boy. My battery's going. I'll have to plug it in.
Yeah, go ahead and charge it. Yeah, get it charged.
And he said, just take the bus. So I stood there with my little guitar, and there comes the bus. There goes the bus. Oh my God, I waited half an hour. Like, I'm going to be late. And another bus never came. I didn't know they had to wave them down.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah.
So I blew a showcase. And Marcel, Goldie McJohn, the keyboard player from Steppenwolf, another friend of mine who I was down there with, said, forget this guy, which I didn't. Let me take you to my friends. So she took me to Irving Azoff and also the guy who managed War. So Irving put me in the studio, and I just ran away because somebody came down to deal with Shelley, and I thought we were all going to go that morning. And I just said, you know what? I'm out of here. And I went home. And that's another chapter.
This is gonna be how many books are you gonna put out anyway?
I don't know. It might be a couple because a lot of stuff.
On your second album, Travel Stained. I know, I've said in the first album I like the mellower, more introspective songs, but I do enjoy Set Me Free. I really like that one from the second. Yeah. And especially the drumming on that. I like the drumming. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's on the Young Live and Rare, right?
I think it's on there as well. Yeah.
That is different. We had one conga player on, and then we replaced it.
Yes.
With another guy, and you can just pick up the energy. It's amazing.
Yes.
So yeah, that's Paul McCallum. on conga.
Yes, yes. Well,
Right?
you're coming in now. You're kind of tinny. Your sound is a little tinny. Is mine the same or is it different?
No, you're fine.
Yeah, yours is a little, yeah, it's not as strong as before. You traveled the world performing. What are some of your fondest places and memories from playing all over the world?
So many.
Yeah.
The memories I have and what I realized is it is the ultimate education
Uh-huh.
to stop and see the people in this world. Because
Yeah.
then you realize that, well, we're pretty well all the same. We have
Yeah.
blood running through our veins. We love who we love. We want to be happy. We all have the same goal.
Yeah.
So to me, it was an incredible time. I've been to Istanbul, Turkey in 1974.
How was that?
And oh, that was amazing. I went with the daughter of the guy who bought up Yorkville. He was worth about $50 million at the time. She's gone now. Yesterday. Money can't keep you here with a dysfunctional family. That's all I got to say. To me,
Right.
it's true.
Yeah.
No, at any rate, um, I went to Istanbul with her, and we stayed in a 40-room mansion, 110-year-old mansion in Tarapian, an amazing experience that you want to talk about the culture shock. And I was hanging out with the American ambassador to Turkey because her mother was very much into the politics. And I performed for the French consulate and an opening of a Turkish club. And let me tell you, the Turkish people are amazing. I mean, they came up and they grabbed this whole big 6-foot high arch of flowers and put it around me. And
Is that right? Wow.
yeah, and I sung on a ferry boat going on the way to Jupiter Island. And I was just playing guitar for Diane, my friend. And they listened. It was like the streetcar again, you know. They all applauded. And then they came up to me, here's my number, you come to my house. You know, I sound Chinese right now. All the invitations, and I'm thinking these people are amazing. So that was Turkey. That was a beautiful time. And then we went to Izmir, which is like the Turkish Riviera, and I performed at an opening of a Danish Turkish hotel. I've been to paradise all along. What I felt there was flowing. At any rate, I wanted to share this with my people, and we didn't have Facebook back then, so it was just like, okay. So from Turkey, I came home. Where was I? Jamaica, when Shelley went down to do his show there. It turned into a disaster. Then he went to LA, and I followed him there, and that's when I ended up with everything exhausted. And then I came back home, and I was dealing about 9 months. I got a call from Rush's management, and they wanted to deal with me. And I thought, So I called Bruce Allen, who had at the Juno said to me, "You should be with me." and I said, "Well, you still interested?" Because I had, pretty well had to leave Shelley down there in LA
Right.
to survive and musically. And he said, "Well, I thought you were working with Irving." Oh, well, okay, nice talking to you.
Right.
So I did a little contract with the Russian people and Anthem, and we spent 9 months, and then they changed lawyers, and the lawyer that they chose was and he's gone too. Anybody's dead, which is kind of helpful for me to talk now. He was my manager's silent partner on the Happy Hooker album. I was her vocal director. I knew everybody. And I watched them sign the papers. So he said to me, "Cathy, are you serious about these guys?" When I went, "Yeah," because he tried to sign me to a publishing deal, and I didn't want to go for this. It was Shelley. And so he said, well, I said, of course I'm serious. 9 months we've been back and forth. He said, well, I said, well, let's see what happens. Well, the contract came back like it had 9 months earlier. He raised all my changes, and I had really come up with a good feasible solution to a contract. And I just told him, I kind of a quick reaction. I said, remember when you first gave me this contract and I said it gave me a migraine, and if you're not able to make substantial changes, I'm going to send it back? He said, yeah, I remember. I said, well, I got the contract from your new lawyer and everything's been removed. It's the way it was before, so you can go F yourself. And I hung up. Took my phone, went home. Now that guy is a friend on Facebook today, loves me dearly, and we've not spoken about it, but both Irving Azoff and him, there's one song called The Party, and they both were very impressed by it. My favorite places where I have been also were Hong Kong. I went to Hong Kong twice. I was the feature performer there at a 5-star French gourmet dinner theater. The only one in Hong Kong. And yeah, it was amazing. And then I was booked for 3 months. But then a new general manager took over, and China announced that they were going to take over in 2 years. And so they made an internal idea that it only takes 2 years for a hotel to show a profit in Hong Kong and 11 years on land. So they shut down the dinner show, which had never made money. And put in a karaoke bar, which existed. So yeah, they made the money. But I was the last performer at that thing. Very nice. And then I also went to Bangkok, and I played at the 7-star best hotel in the world, the Oriental Hotel.
Oh, okay.
And it was amazing. I spent 3 months there. It was just absolutely beautiful. Again, alone. A lot of money there. There was a gentleman who really liked the band and took me to dinner, all on the up and up. And he said, where are you staying? In the hotel? I said, oh, no. They keep those for the small hotel. I'm up on Pat Pong. Up in the road. Oh, you can't do that. He says, I have an apartment across the way. Look, you can see it there. Condo, and I have 3 cleaning ladies, and it's for sale. And I have 2 condos in there, and there I need somebody to supervise the cleaning ladies. Would you do that and stay at my place? I won't be there, he said. And here's my driver in my car. I bought him a Mercedes, and he sold it. Now, this is a dilapidated car, but it still works. And you call him anytime you need him. There's a car and a driver in an apartment. And it was all marble and beautiful. I have photos of everything.
Yeah.
And I was so Cinderella, you know. I just, and then they asked me to come back to Hong Kong. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've been away almost a long time now. And I understood what the word homesick means. Yeah. I felt ill.
Right.
I was standing in the balcony thinking, how do I go back to Bangkok? I miss my family. I miss my mom. My mom needs me. How can I do this? I'm choosing my career. So I went home for 5 days. I arranged for them to fly me back from Toronto, not from Bangkok.
Okay.
And I went home for 5 days, and it was a total turnaround of time. I don't even hardly remember being there. And then I flew back to Hong Kong again. And then I ended up in Cyprus with 4 separate cars with my own band. I filled in a girl's show that I met in Hong Kong. She took off. Her boyfriend came to get her, and she took her passport and ran away. And so they called me and said, you want to come ahead? I said, Cyprus. Okay, here I come.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I was on the road for 10 years. It just kept going. Oh, and a couple of cruise ships. One, the Pier Tiki, which really started all that touring. I broke up with my guy, and I left, and because he was a cheater. May he rest in peace. We were engaged, and He cheated a lot. And on a cruise, he wouldn't take me. He'd take his daughter and then tell everybody he was a single father.
Mm.
Like, that's pretty hurtful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I broke up and I said, no, you can't find me. I'm out of there. And I left. And I went on a cruise. And on that cruise, Stan Cleese from the people who invented the Junos.
Oh,
Serendipity.
okay. Oh,
So I
okay.
spent 3 days in my cabin.
Uh-huh.
And then I went out at midnight and said, well, Kathy, here's your watershed moment. Like Buffy St. Rue. Okay? What are you going to do? Your life over? You can jump right now. Nobody's going to find you. Midnight. Or, and I decided, no, I didn't want to go. I wanted to live. So I took it all in my hands like a bowl. So I rolled up all the bull into a ball and I threw it overboard.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
And from that point on, it started. I went out and Stan, I said, excuse me, do you know the time? And he said, Kathy. I went, oh, Stan. He was with the captain, who always he was. And he said, come on out. What did you do? I said, I left. He said, come on for the captain tonight. Have dinner with us. And then I ended up singing some songs for them. All the people came in from the casino, the other thing, and they offered me a cruise season. And I thought, that's good, because I don't know what the heck I'm going to do. And that's what I did for 10 years. I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. I just kept doing it, And I found my mojo again. Nobody knew me.
Yeah.
It didn't matter about the record thing not working or anything about that. I was current, and they loved my show.
Yeah. See, and so many people are glad that you made that decision. Yeah, and how things turned for you for the better. Yeah, that's great.
They really did. I started doing a couple of shows here. They did an Honoring Our Own, by Pete Otis, and that started it. And I jammed at I played at the Black Swan, and then a few things here, and then I went to Mexico after I was caregiving for my mom. And then my father, and then his wife. And I was turning down jobs in Japan, all over the place, and then they stopped offering, So after my dad passed, he told me not to grieve him. Now that's the army talking, it's an order. He is not grieve your father. Well, you travel all over the place, and you spend a lot of money. So I went to Mexico, and I ended up at a fundraiser for these kids called the Niños Incapacitados. For Dr. Music's wife, Doug Riley's wife, Jan, was a big fundraiser down there. So I got in with that, and I started to do some shows. And next thing you know, I've done 4 or 5, and I'm coming back and back there to Mexico, and then Toronto, and then I did the Lula Lounge here. And brought up my whole crew, because I don't just perform along. It's like a vaudeville show. There's always something, And that's the last time I performed in Toronto on my own. But then I guested with, of course, George Oliver. I did an official guesting with Robbie Lane from Robbie Lane and the Disciples. Incredible. Okay. And that happened to be the last show in Toronto. March the 8th, 2020, it's a historical show. History followed me because COVID shut everything down for 2 years after that.
Yep, it sure did.
And so the next thing I did was to come up and sing with him. 2 years later, he invited me up on stage, and I'm going to guest with him again. But I thought, look at that, full circle. And I put together a PSA in the meantime. When COVID hit, called Wash Your Hands. A wonderful disc jockey by the name of Brian Masters, I've known for 100 years. We were talking about songs and stuff, and I said, I got this great song. Oh, cannabis, I've loved you all my life. If you were a man, I'd gladly be your wife. Right? And he said, how about this? You know the old Bogart song, "Oh, clap your hands, clap your hands." I don't know if
Yeah.
you know that.
Yeah, I've heard that. I have heard that.
Oh, well, when I came home singing every day to that portrait
Hmm.
of my sister, it was important to hear this too, I was pantomime with that group.
Uh-huh.
And they would come on, clap your hands, clap your hands. And I loved to sing it. And at the end, I'd walk away and he'd say, "Don't go away. Let's get together once again." So and I'd turn around and I do that every day. And 15 years ahead, 15 years later, I'm in the studio doing a lot of recording, a lot of vocal production. And I'm in the studio with John Capek, who is producing this guy. And I thought, okay, that's great. And we did all the album, the 8 cuts. And then comes this gospel thing. Oh, clap your hands, clap your hands. Oh, wow. Wait a minute. I know this song. And I ran into the control room and I said, "Joey Frechette, I'm Cathy Young, and I've been singing this. I know this song." He said, "I wrote this song."
Wow. Okay. That's an
You
aha
had
moment.
to,
Yeah.
and so I thought, so okay, fast forward now another 20 years, and here's Brian Master saying, "Do you remember the song, oh, clap your hands, clap your hands?" I said, "Oh, yeah, do I ever?" And he said, "How about this for the COVID? Just wash your hands, wash your hands." That's all he had to say.
Uh-huh.
Within half an hour, I had the song.
Uh-huh.
Wear your mask and wash your hands. That there's no time to fool around. Everybody stand your ground. Wash your hands, wash your hands. Let's get together. We'll be together once again. Shaking hands and hugging friends. It doesn't have to be the end. Tell your family, tell your friends. Wash your hands, wash your hands. Oh, come gather round. I got Ronnie Hawkins on it to say, he taped it for me, the last thing he ever taped. But he says, "I'm not too close." Nobody else. I called everybody. No one else would come. We asked Gordy Lightfoot, who's on the mural as well, and his people said, from the BIA, we asked them, because they know him, and he says, and I know him, but you couldn't get back to management. The management said, "Absolutely not."
No.
He's staying home till Happy Hall. And that's the way that it was. Called Robbie Robertson. I'm in LA. I can't scheduling. I can't be there, but you can certainly use my name.
Right.
Max Webster wasn't feeling well. Rush didn't bother to get back to me, but Jay Douglas did. The guy who did the mural, I put him in there. Wasn't a singer, but he did. and I produced and directed this PSA, which I'll send to you.
Okay.
Wash your hands.
Yeah.
We might have to put it out again if we're all fully going to hit again.
Yeah, you never know. It's staying around. It's just lingering, you know. It's not going away. Wow. Yeah.
We knew it was going to be a real, that it was going to be a real thing. Old habits die hard. That it was a real thing, you know. And so I stayed in for 2-3 years and I haven't performed.
Yeah.
And, when did I perform? Oh, I did a guest thing. I was invited. I could push to go on stage by Ronnie King of Stampeders. I went on tour, and he was pushing me. "Come on, go on, sing it." And they were doing a documentary on them. So here I am, and singing. And he's my guy now. So, and he said I should say this. So, okay.
There
You know,
you
it's
go.
a professional thing. You got to be forever single, but we live together.
There you go. Well, how did you feel when you were approached about your likeness being on that mural being painted? How did you feel?
I didn't know it was happening. The owner of the CEO of the downtown Young BIA, Mark Garner, at the time, called me He said, "Hey, Kathy, we did a mural on Yonge Street, and we put you in it. See if you can find yourself." Well, I guess the lower left quadrant, the artist really liked it and worked it in, and I'm like 26 feet high, way above tomato throwing height, haters. You can't so, you know, I'm not an overly religious person, but I'm a very spiritual person, and I know who my creator is. I sung to him when I was 3 years old.
Right.
And he has carried me through my whole life where I should have been dead many times. You don't know stuff that I have avoided. But he wants me to. And I just have to say things happen for a reason, and he wants me here, and I've got a lot to say still. So I'm just very, very grateful to be here and very aware that stuff happens that you can't figure it out. You just gotta understand there's something going on. You know, there is a divine plan. I do believe.
I agree. I'm with you.
Oh, I didn't tell you. I was in Texas. I sung. Oh yeah, I did a show in between before the Christmas Fantasy show, which is developed out of this tour. Mel Shaw, who was the manager of the Stampeders, who I met 50 years ago at the Junos when they came and played as the first. I was up for Artist of the Year, female, and they were the first band to play live at a nationally broadcasted show. And they were amazing. And I think I fell in love with Ronnie
at that moment.
Oh my gosh. They came out, you could tell they're a little nervous, right? Not Ronnie. He came out, blasted both into the rhinestone velvet jumpsuit. Let me at him. And he's been like that ever since. That's his personality. And I just was knocked out. So here, fast forward, then I get a call from Mel Shaw to come and sing. Like they broke up for a while to sing on Ronnie King's record. So Rhonda Silver, who was one of the fabulous singers in Dr. Music, my friend Rhonda and I did the backup for Mama You and Mojo. Got my Mojo working.
Oh, Mojo.
And then prom again, you know, that kind of thing went on until just a few years ago. But why I'm saying it is that they were playing and they were on tour, and so I did Sweet City Woman with them, and I thought that was amazing. That's the first time I've really been on a stage like in 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it makes the documentary. We're supposed to. I may not pick up on the cutting room floor.
Right. I remember seeing them on Midnight Special. I remember seeing Stampeders on the Midnight Special. Yeah. Way back in the day.
Ronnie's the cute.
You have to say that. Yeah.
Honey, walking testosterone, please.
Well, I wanted to ask you one other thing. Well, there's a couple other things, but about your about working doing the voice acting on the video games and the voice directing. What's the difference between voice acting and voice directing?
Really surprised me. Oh my God. Yeah, I directed my first video game that was a translation from German. It was an award-winning German video game, very popular, called Drachenfang, which is dragon blood.
Okay.
And this was called River of Time. And I had never directed until now. They didn't know that. But I had never, the company I worked with knew. And I knew them for a long time, and they knew I could do this. So they trained me a little bit, and I went in, and here we go. The difference is when you're a voice actor, you're on one side of the microphone, and you're being directed by someone on the other side of the microphone.
Okay.
So you can self-direct. I know that there are great voiceover guys who do that. One of them being a session I had babysat him because he was totally didn't really need me. The guy who does the children's stuff is very famous, and him. His name escapes me right now. But at any rate, back to the difference. Voice directing was amazing. I found I had the ear to be able to, when you're thinking, when you're thinking to what's in there, you've got to be on, and it'll go beep, 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 and then nothing, and then you got to be in there.
Okay.
And if you don't have it together, which is very difficult, you're going to be late about 10 times, and it's going to frustrate you. So I learned what to do. It was happening about 3 times, and this thing, and I thought, watch my cue, just watch my finger. And it's nice, I have a gift. And it was like, beep, beep, beep. And he got it right on. It was amazing. So I learned so much. But the first day I directed, I had eaten at my parents the day before and brought them some nice eggs. I had scrambled eggs. Well,
Okay.
I didn't know it, but I had salmonella.
Oh,
I was
wow.
so sick that day, and that's the first day I'm directing a video game. Talk about the luck of the Irish. So I showed up, and I mean I couldn't stop. You know, there's nothing there but bile. But you know, sorry to be so rude, but that's what I was. And the woman from Germany was at the session. I'd met her the night before, and we got along like a house on fire. Picked her up for the session. So the talent was late, 2 hours. The big talent.
Yeah.
Oh, he had all the lines. I thought, oh, what am I going to do? I said, I got to use the washroom when I ran. And she goes, oh, I'll come with you. So I made it to the door, and then the door opened, and I hit the basin. And it was, I was going to stomach the flu, I think. And that could let me go for a little while longer. And so what did I do? I became the actor who directed herself. And I got in the sound booth, and I made up a whole bunch of characters that needed to be done later. One of them was a troll. I thought, I make a perfect troll right now. That guy. All these different characters and left them in, and didn't charge them, of course. So I brought it in on budget and on time.
Wow.
167 characters, 300 lines, whatever it was. And I haven't directed. I directed a couple more little ones, little pieces of them, and acted in them. One called Black Mirror. If you're a gamer, you'll know Black Mirror. I was a necromancer.
Oh, okay, okay.
1,000-year-old person eats dead people.
My son will know that. Yeah, the gamer.
Yeah, your son will know. I was the chief necromancer.
The chief.
So,
okay.
yeah, I love producing. I found that I produced. There's the Scottish in me. Did you hear that? For the taxi husband for them gang up for the taxi husband sailing to love. That's my bagpipe.
There you go. There you go.
You get you going with the voice. I'm going to tell you about Texas quickly. So Mel Shaw, next time I heard from him, he introduces me to this guy, Ray Cangrove. He's the guy I left, by the way, on the ship after a while. He said he had a tour and he wanted me to sing in Texas, Houston, Texas.
Okay.
With Sarah Young.
Wow.
Cathy Young. And Sarah Young.
Yeah.
And I did it. I performed. And then I came home. He invited me into his Winnebago for a drink of water. And I go in and it's all whiskey in there. In the spigot, you push the thing. Yeah.
How old was
But
he
that
then?
was,
How old was Farron?
I've got a program
Yeah.
from that. That was 1977, and I
Okay.
have the program with his picture in mine.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Uh,
Definitely.
that he would have been back then. I think he would have been in his 70s. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. He was up
at
there.
least.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he's one of my favorite country singers. Yeah. Yeah. Farron. Uh-huh. Did you guys talk? Did you guys talk and see if there's any family tree, any connection
Oh, we
there?
didn't talk too much. You just get it off of
Yeah.
me with you. Local people took me. I stayed overnight. Some local people I met took me to what do you call it? A hoedown. And
Yeah.
and there's a big barn. And on one side of the barn was a stage and a band.
Uh-huh.
And everybody dancing around, and then the band takes a break, and the whole crowd moves across the way to the other side of the barn where there's another stage and another group starts up.
Yeah.
Just me. And I was trying to lose weight, so I went to the what's the blue light or something? Barbecue. And I had the barbecue, but I didn't have the pecan pie, and I resented it ever since. I said, Kathy, why didn't you have one piece of pecan pie?
Uh-huh.
If I ever get back to Texas, I'm going to have that pie.
You're gonna have that, yeah.
Yeah, it was called Moonlight. The Moonlight. See, I got a good memory. That's why I'm so single.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you do. When you were doing those lyrics earlier, I don't know how you remember lyrics like that. I would have to have them written down. Yeah, I'd have to have them in my.
I fooled John Hitbeck one time, the guy who did the session for Joey Bichette to Wash Your Hands. I said, oh, I remember that session. Saturday morning, no fucking on Saturday evening, I bring you so much more. He said, did you only just do one session in your life?
Yeah. You talked about other production jobs that you've done. How about the producing the Spirit of Yorkville Music Festival? Did you enjoy that? You enjoy that?
So with the Spirit of Yorkville,
Yeah.
that was a take on because we wanted to do another Love-In
Yeah.
time because there's a big gap. We want to do a mural too because there's a big gap between 1800 and today that has made Yorkville the internationally known shopping and tourist destination.
Yeah.
There was a hole there. What happened? Well, it was us. But they don't want the dirty hippies, the Yorkville Residents Association. They didn't want the pot smoking hippies for the Yorkville BIA.
Right.
However, since that time, we've been talking, and since that time that they shut us out, you wait a little bit and see what happens. And then the List Gallery on Yorkville, very high-end gallery, did an installation of Banksy.
Okay.
Kathy's on it. Oh,
Yeah.
really? Hey, the precedent set, murals in Yorkville. Okay. And then they opened up the pot shop right beside the Pilot Tavern. Precedent set. It's legal now. So I still did nothing, but I found another location for the mural. We were going to do it another way. And just the other day, and then COVID hit. So just the other day, I saw on the news, this found the association, the Mural Association. What? And they're doing murals in Yorkville. They don't want one bare space, and they somehow got the right to put caricatures, like cartoon murals everywhere.
Yeah.
And did that ever tick me off? I thought, how did they get in there and do that? Well, then I thought a little bit more. I'm thinking, okay, can't win them, can't beat them, join them. So I can go in the back door, meet this guy, put a proposal together that he should, in all fairness, put the mural together of the people and the places of Yorkville that made it like that. Pictures of the people, whatever. We wanted to do an interactive one and have them push the thing and listen to the music too, but that never happened. We started stars on this, so that didn't. So I think this is a good idea to do that. And the BIA had a falling out with the mural artist, I'll tell you, between you and me, and he won't be doing anything for the BIA anymore. However, in the interim, I met an artist who wanted to redo my album cover from the first album, the guitar. That's the classic, iconic guitar. And I just did an interview in September in the Shindig magazine from England. And they found me and they wanted to know, do you still have that guitar? I said, yes, I do. But the paint is new.
Yeah.
I owed for an ounce of pot, and the guy kept it for a month. And when I finally gave him the money, he opened up the case and the painting was gone.
Oh.
And he said, I didn't like it. But he died shortly thereafter. Nothing to do with me. There's a hand. Karma was so bad. So anyway, I have this, and Wendell, who does the character stuff for the Raptors and stuff. She does all the child art and everything. She's amazing. And she said, I could do this. Please let me do this. I could recreate it. Ryerson College wanted to redo it as well. Really? And so the article was about finding the artist who painted it.
Yeah.
20 years ago, when I was in LA, I walked down the ramp with Irving Azoff and Bill Graham to go see Ted Nugent that night. The door opened up, and who was at the bottom? The guy who painted my guitar, who I hadn't seen in years in Yorkville. Oh yeah, my life was like that. And I hugged, and these guys, he's a at that point he was a roadie, road guy, road manager.
Yeah.
So they kept walking. Who is he to them?
Yeah.
They kept biggest in the industry right at that moment. So they're walking, and I gotta follow them. So and I'm like, so I said, I'll catch you later, yeah. It never happened.
Yeah.
And so all these years later, we're trying to find him to repaint the guitar. Jan House, who had me part of his Yonge Street rock and roll stories, Bravo Award-winning series.
Right.
Said, I want to do a documentary on this. I think we should find this guy and have him repaint it. Well, that's what the article was in Shindig, was about that. And he said, great, he's English. We'll put it all over Europe and see if we can find him. Well, he found an article that previous September. It had a tragic accident. He was buried, and he went deep and was all paved with it.
Wow.
And the article showed who he was. At 70 years old, he was the top road manager. He worked with the Stones. He worked with everybody. He was Bill Graham's right-hand man after a while. And I could have found it, but I didn't try to. I didn't think of that, So we were going to do this, and then it came to me in a dream. No, leave it. You can't redo the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah.
It can never be done again.
Yeah.
So I just told him, and he's going to update the article, and Wendell's fine with that. But Wendell Beaton, who's an incredible artist, as I said, I want her to do the Yorkville mural, because she can do caricatures of the people, make it look good. So that's my plan. That's what I'm working on now. That's my latest thing. Along with a little secret thing that I can't tell you yet, but I will, because it's going to involve Ronnie came from the theaters and a whole bunch of other bands. And I'm still making the presentation to the Calgary BIA. The CEO of the Calgary BIA was the guy who left the Toronto BIA. They called him to go to Calgary, so that's my connection. So there may be some very exciting news coming.
Okay, okay. You got to bite your tongue right now.
Yeah, I'm going back up to Calgary on Tuesday and we'll hang out with my
Oh, okay. Well,
guy.
I know a lot of
Thank
fans.
you.
Well, I said a lot. I know a lot of fans. A lot of people will be excited about that. So we'll be waiting to hear and see. Yeah, yeah.
Hey, and I went to Manitoulin Island at the end of the Stampeders tour. It was like a month separate, but I had a wonderful time there. It's actually a picture up on his Facebook page of Ronnie King's friends and fans.
Okay.
Us, and the promoter came up and took a picture. It looked like we're the only ones on stage. I'm like, no, stop that. You're bad.
Yeah.
I'm not Yoko. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And what a delight to talk
Yeah.
to you.
Well, yeah, it has been with you. I just enjoy your stories and hearing you talk, and you have so much life. You're so full of energy and life. So that's, you've had a good experience, good ride, as they say, right? Yep. Well, thank you so much, Kathy, for your time, and we will keep in touch. And good luck on everything that's coming up on the horizon and that's in the works for you. And we'll see what happens with this too. Well,
In the loop, Texas. Don't you worry.
all righty. Well, thank